When they enslave us, they give us their names, their language, their culture, their religion, and we become a part of their history. I was scheduled to go to Dominica, and I landed in Martinique. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, man. What you talk? Wait, man. Let me tell you. But listen, here's a man from the French West Indies, right? What is your name? Henri. Francois Chancy. Bonjour, 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 mademoiselle. Madame, monsieur. And right next door is your brother. He's saying, comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? No, he's saying, ¿cómo está usted? Está bien. So I don't understand that man. I speak French, he speaks Spanish. We are at odds with each other. So the British and the French West Indies carry the same historical anger as the British and the French. Right now, some of us living in Ontario, but you got some living in Quebec. And since the French and the British don't get along, some of us don't get along with each other because our master don't get along with each other. Huh? All right. But listen, I was getting to a point, and I don't want to miss that point. But listen, brothers and sisters, in all of these islands where there are Indians, Chinese, Arabs, whites, and black, you find the Indian, Arab, Chinese, and whites heavily involved in the economies of those islands, while the blacks are the majority and are in political power, but don't have the money. They don't control the economies of these countries. Well, is it because we're inferior? Are you sure? That's right, we're not inferior. So I said to the Indians, and I said to the Arabs and the Chinese and others that are on these islands, what you don't understand is what happened to us. See, the blacks, when we were brought there as slaves, many of our parents were Muslims. I want you to hear me. They were Muslims in Africa. And when they were brought out of Africa into the West, since the Muslims and the Christians were locked into struggle over Jerusalem, you hear me? And the Muslims won and conquered Spain and Portugal and southern France, even went up to the gates of Vienna. These were black people in Islam that conquered. You better hear me now. And they mixed their blood with the Spanish and the Portuguese. That's why they're dark over there. Huh? They went into Sicily and they mixed their blood with the Sicilians. So they're the darkest Italians. Talk to me. So, when they got us in the Western Hemisphere, they didn't want no Islam among us because they know that Islam will make you militant. Islam. See, when you know God, oh, brother, when you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, when you say that and know it and mean it, no man can make you a slave. because you will not bow down to nothing or no one but God. So the slave master wanted no Islam in the Western Hemisphere, so they killed off the Muslims. Wouldn't let the parents teach the children, whether they were in what they call animist religions or Islam. They did not want any of the culture of Africa and the history of Africa to be passed on to you. So in the West Indies, they stripped you. So today, you ain't British. You ain't an Englishman, but look at you. You got English name. You're Johnson, Mr. Williams, Mr. Green, Mr. White, Mr. Bush, Mr. Washington, Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Lincoln, Mr. Blakely. Whose name is that? That's a white man's name. Well, are you he or are you you? Well, if you're a black man from Africa, where's your African name? Go look at the Indians that are in the Caribbean. All of them got their own name. They got their own culture. They got their own history. You are robbed of all of that, and that's why you are not accomplishing, either in the Caribbean or in Canada or in America, what you need to accomplish to be free, because a tree without fruits is dead, a root is dead, and a people without the knowledge of their history are dead. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a Chinese person in Jamaica? You say, you see him come in, you know he's Chinese, and he say, my name is Louis Jones. You would say, what happened to the man? The man name is supposed to be Wing Ting, Ching Lee. He's Henry Jones. Somebody mess with that fella. He got the look of a Chinese, but he's really something else on the inside. You got the look of a black man, but you a white man on the inside. He made us that way. Yes. And that's why you don't make no progress even when you got power in your hands, because you want to rule like your enemy. You want to walk like your enemy. You want to live like your enemy. And so beloved black people, a service has to be rendered to you. And I say to all my Muslim brothers and sisters from the Islamic world, you really need to understand what has happened to this segment of humanity. See, because when you come up under white supremacy, the people that are the darkest are made to feel the most inferior. I want you to hear me. I really want you to hear me. The black man, because he's black and his hair is kinky and his lips are a little thicker, his nose a little broader, even though some of the Indians are blacker than him, but the hair's straight, their lips a little thinner, their nose a little thinner, they feel like they're better than this black kinky-haired man. I want to talk to you. So when the slave master mixes his blood in us and we come out looking like me or lighter, hair just a little bit of curl in it, nose a little thinner, lips a little thinner, then they tell the boy he's good looking. As though somebody black ain't good looking, you know. Listen to me careful now. The more straight his hair, they say the man got good hair, you know. So if straight hair is good, what is kinky hair? Come on, talk to me. How the hell you gonna give a moral quality to hair? Hair is hair, whether it's kinky, curly, or straight. Hair is hair. But why you call it good hair if the man hair straight? Why you call him good looking if they light and bright? It is because those who are the masters of white supremacy made an image of Jesus. Listen, and they painted him white. Wait, sometime he got blonde hair and blue eyes. Sometime he got brown hair and brown eyes. Even though they didn't have Clairol in those days. The one thing that never changed, he's always white. Now hear me, listen. We all know Jesus was a good man. The Bible says Jesus was really the apex of the prophetic community. The pinnacle of it is Jesus. The Quran says Jesus was a perfect example. Are you listening to me? Of the law. Perfect example. But you can't get no better than perfect. I don't understand Arabic that well, but the way all the translations I read say of Jesus, he was a perfect exemplar of the law. Well, now you make him white. Now you put that image on everything that you conquer. I want you to hear me. When, what's that, that Roman that became a Christian, Constantine. When Constantine had his vision and he saw the cross, and on it these Latin words, in hoc signo vinces, meaning with this sign, conquer. And everywhere the European went with the cross and this image, he brought it to this hemisphere. And let me tell you something. You may look at the native people and you may think that they are savage. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, the native people may not have had a Bible and they may not have heard of the Quran, but the native people studied the best book, which is the universe itself. I want you to hear me. Way down in what is called the jungles of Africa, they may not have had a Bible And they may not have had a Holy Quran, but they were born into the universal book of God, where everything in his book is truth. And they studied that book. The native Indian, the native black. And when they're left alone, if you watch them, they built societies that had law and order in their tribes. They had tribal customs, and if you look at the way they lived, their law, and then you look at what Moses taught, Moses didn't bring nothing new except to those that he taught. But that law is law among all of the civilized people, and even those in the jungle got a law that they live by. And if you took time to study them, rather than say they're heathens, they could have taught the European a lot. But he was so arrogant. Even among the Mayans were so far advanced beyond the Europeans that the Europeans came, and when they met the Mayans, they met them with a highly developed civilization. They knew mathematics and science, and they wrote their science in books, and the missionaries burned their books, and it took them not hundreds, but a long time to learn what the Mayans already knew and had written. But white supremacy would not allow them to learn from the people that they call heathens. I want you to hear me, black man, because white supremacy is not Christianity. White supremacy is not righteousness. Whenever you take your color and make your color the badge of honor, and somebody else's color a badge of dishonor, you have dishonored yourself, and you've shown disrespect to God and the infinite wisdom of his creation. Follow me. Follow me. Look at the universe. We have in our universe a sun with 9 beautiful planets. From the close planet Mercury to the far planet Pluto, all of them manifest a different color. This planet manifests a color that is blue. Mars is called the red planet. Each planet has its color. If the planets could talk, would you hear any one of them saying, you know what? I better than that one because my color so. You would say the planet is talking foolish. Look at the earth. You got black earth. You got brown earth. You got red earth. You got white earth. And you never hear any member of the family of earth say, I'm better because I'm black. That talk is reserved for foolish human beings. The rocks, some of them black, some of them brown, some of them red, some of them white. No talk of which one has a better color. Go ahead, look at your diamonds. They reflect all the colors. Look at your rubies. Look at your emeralds. These are the stones that God put in the earth, all these various colors. You like to put on your rubies, put on your sapphire, put on your diamond, put on your this and your that, and you want to show off your colors, eh? But you can't say which one better than the other. Look at the flowers. Look at the plants. Look at the beautiful colors in the birds. Look at the ants. Nobody talks that foolishness. But talk to human being. And the reason the human being talks is because he's sick. He's sick. And I'm sorry, white people, we would never have had to talk about black if you hadn't spent so much time talking about white. You wanted everything of value to be white and everything of non-value to be black. And you have poisoned religion. Islam is poisoned. I want you to hear me, Muslims. I said Islam is poisoned. The practice of it, not the iman, but the practice is poison, because racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Islam. Racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Christianity. Racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Judaism. Tell me I'm a liar. So all of it is sick and in need of a doctor. And if you don't get a cure soon, God intends to wipe the slate and start again. Did you hear me? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 80 days before he passed from this earth, he talked to his beloved community. And he said, and I quote, "There is no superiority of the white over the black, or the Arab over the non-Arab. The best of you is he that is most careful of his or her duty to God." Why did he say that? Because he saw the seed of racism right in his own community, and he knew what was coming. He knew that you would be taken off the path by Shaitan. Muslims, you are in trouble today, not because of Israel, not because of America. You're in trouble because you've deviated from the path of God. That's why you're in trouble. And if you don't come back to the path of God, you will be destroyed. You are now weak as a community when God raised you to be the guide for humanity. Now the human family is laughing at you. Listen to me. You're in the United Nations, all these Muslim nations. And just like the Quran says, you would take this book and put it behind your backs, because the leaders don't judge with this book. They don't rule with this book. They rule. And they say, La ilaha illallah, there's no God but Allah, and his partner is the government of the United States. So they obey Washington. They obey the United Nations, and they forsake the Quran. How could Muslims be raped and ravished in Bosnia, and the other members of the Muslim world won't send them weapons to defend themselves because there's an embargo? God didn't put the embargo on them. America did. And you will bow down to America instead of bowing down to Allah. You let America put sanctions on Iraq. You don't know the real story. I don't have time to tell it all, but I'm going to tell some of it. Everywhere the British went, everywhere the British ruled, when it was time for the British to get out, they would take territory from one nation and give it to another, knowing that sooner or later there would be border conflicts. And then they'll sell weapons to one side and sell weapons to the other side. Kuwait was, in fact, the 19th province of Iraq. But when the British got ready to leave, they didn't want all that oil to belong to the Iraqis. So they split up that area into sheikdoms. Talk to me. As long as they control the oil, they let certain families get benefit, and families became rich. And some of them shared the wealth with the people. But as long as England and America had access to the oil, they didn't care nothing about it.